Will a niche down property make you more money when you list it on Airbnb? You're going to find out right now with Amy Gilbert here on the Fearless Flipping podcast. Make sure you rate and review this episode. Let's get to it. If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name's Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. Hey, welcome to the show. We are going to jump into it here on the Fearless Flipping podcast with your host, me, Kyle Stanley. And before we get to it with Amy Gilbert and talking about niching down with Airbnb, we do have to give a shout out to one of our listeners. And I got to apologize, first of all, because I don't know if their name is Krista PZ or Chris Tap Z. So either way, whether you're Krista PZ or Chris Tap Z, definitely want to give you a shout out. Thank you for the review. He said, Kyle Stanley provides an unbelievable amount of knowledge from his own mind and the minds of his many guests. This is by far one of the most versatile real estate podcasts where people can find out interesting things about the topic of their choice. Kyle keeps it fun and entertaining while giving the listeners the education they thirst for. Highly recommend to any beginners who are looking to get into real estate or anybody who just enjoys learning. Oh yeah, and making money. So thank you so much for that review. Again, if you go on to your podcast platform, rate with 5 stars and give us a review. We will mention you on the show. And that is what we love to do with our listeners. We love to connect. We love to give back some love. So as you continue to listen to the show and you want to continue to connect with us, I want to remind you that you can actually connect one-on-one with me if you just go to fearlessflipping.com/consultation. Again, fearlessflipping.com/consultation. You can book a 15-minute free call with me where I can answer all your questions about real estate or Airbnb. Speaking of Airbnb, let's jump into it with Amy Gilbert. She's coming to us from Canada, and she talks about how she's giving her guests an amazing experience through niche Airbnbs. Let's jump into it. Hey, welcome in. We have got the lovely Amy Gilbert from Ontario, Canada, coming at you from the Fearless Flipping podcast. And Amy is an Airbnb expert. She's been in this even longer than me, 2011. And I'm excited to learn about your story, Amy, and also have our audience hear a little bit more about you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So, you've been in this for a while, and I've got to just, first of all, to break the ice here, give me like a story of maybe your most interesting or strangest Airbnb encounter, or maybe just a really positive story of how, you had just that one great impact that you made on a guest. Does anything come to mind?
Oh my gosh. I love the positive stories. Thank you for asking that. I find so many of us get caught up in the drama of that one time,
Right.
things went south. Endless positive stories.
Good.
I think just most recently, I got the chance to return a teddy bear to a little guy who was visiting from Germany. Um, and yeah, the mom, wrote to me in a panic from the airport and was like, oh my God, this is my son's bear he's had for 4 years. Can't sleep without this bear. Could you please, would it be possible to, send the bear? And so I cracked on it and, we went searching for the bear. And of course we couldn't find him first go. He was wrapped up pretty tight, tucked in behind the couch.
Oh gosh.
And, just before packaging him up and sending him off, I thought, let's do something fun with this, right? Like, let's take this bear on an adventure before he goes back to Germany. So, took some pictures of the bear doing some tree climbing, reading up in a tree, had him sitting by a pond, and took all those photos and made a story and then sent with the bear in the package. So kind of made that a really positive.
How awesome is that? See, those small things really make a big difference. And I got to admit, those are the things that I just don't even think of to do. That's not how my mind works, but that's so cool that you're doing that and providing that kind of experience for your guests too. So good for you. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a mom. I should mention that. So I really get how these little things are to our little guests, because where I host, we get a lot of families that come and stay here for family getaways, and
That's
I really
cool.
like to take them under my wing and treat them like VIPs. So
That's cool. Yeah. That's really awesome. And of course, climbing a tree, it just makes sense because you're Giving Tree Hospitality on on Instagram. So if you want to follow Amy, she is on Instagram at Giving Tree Hospitality. Where does that name come from?
So I'm kind of like, I like to think of myself as like a young entrepreneur with an old soul. So
Okay.
I actually launched a bed and breakfast in my late 20s.
Okay.
And that's before Airbnb was a thing. And so the name of my first business was Giving Tree B&B. And so as my business has evolved and grown, and I now no longer serve breakfast, I'm all in with Airbnb and professional Airbnb management. I pivoted and kept that name. So it's funny you mention it because I'm actually going through rebranding right now. And I'll be launching my new brand at the end of the month.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the new name is the Trendy Host Co. So
Okay.
I'll be taking my business to the next level in terms of who I host, how I host, and also launching some products. So
Wow.
that's
Okay.
kind of up and coming. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about that at the end and how you're helping other Airbnb hosts too. But let's take a moment now to dive into your story. You already gave us a little bit of a tease about that. You're probably one of the only people that was actually doing like a B&B before Airbnb. But
Right.
what got you in, and what's kind of your background story when it comes to Airbnb?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I've grown up with Airbnb. Yes, I was here kind of doing the B&B thing um, before Airbnb launched. And I came at it the hard way, right? So having a website and waiting for bookings to come in, on the phone. So I am a major convert in terms of how easy the Airbnb platform has made launching this kind of business or scaling this kind of business,
It's amazing, isn't
because
it?
I came at it, the good old fashioned way. So, yeah, when I was in my mid to late 20s, I had traveled a lot, stayed at a lot of cool hostels, and at one point lost a passport, and I had complete strangers taking me in
Hmm.
Honduras.
Wow.
And I wanted to pay that forward in some way, was so inspired about the idea of opening up my home. And so when I bought my first house, I renovated the top floor, and also had a barn on the back of the property that was converted into a guest cabin. So started hosting people there. And I was a vegetarian at the time. I call myself a recovering vegetarian. I now eat bacon almost daily, but I catered to that little niche of people that were traveling with a special diet. So vegan, gluten-free, of course, vegetarian, and I served a kick-ass breakfast. And
Good.
yeah, really had a lot of success with that business. But as I started to have children, the rooms in my house started to fill up, and I, was starting to just only host in the cabin.
Hmm.
And of course, my income decreased, right? As I could host fewer guests. And I thought, I'd like to be able to figure out a way to still earn, the same income or more, doing what I'm doing. So of course, I started hosting on Airbnb and fell in love with how easy it was to attract guests. The caliber of guests were spot on for the kind of people I wanted to host. I don't know if you find this, but I find, you kind of really, you get what you put out there. So, the more effort
Absolutely.
you put into your listing, the
Hmm.
photos, the more you share about who you are as a person, your passions, you kind of attract like-minded people, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all about
Yeah. So
presentation.
absolutely. So, yeah, just went all in with Airbnb. Completely shut down my website and stopped taking bookings over the phone. Stopped taking cash payments, and just because it went from like 5% of bookings were coming from Airbnb to like 90%. So
Wow.
that was a no-brainer, right? And then stopped hosting breakfast and still charge the same nightly rate. Like,
Right?
whoa,
Amazing.
yeah. So I had more time to start cooking for my kids again, being able to make it to local markets, not just being like ball and chained to
Hmm.
this business. And then by the time I had I guess my second child, third was on the way, I came upon the idea of co-hosting and
Mm.
helping, other property owners really experience success out the gate with Airbnb hosting. And it's something I've been doing since 2016. And so it's now my full-time gig. I'm all in. And I say I
Awesome.
work full time, but I'll be honest with you. I find I have a really flexible schedule and love the work-life balance that I have.
Absolutely. So there's a few nuggets there that I want people to first of all grasp. And
Sure.
this concept of Airbnb, people think, well, it's an extension of a bed and breakfast. So I have to serve, I have to have services, and really that is not the case. You just have to truly have what people need there. And so you said that you stopped serving breakfast, but we're still charging the same.
Yeah.
How awesome was that?
Amazing. And like the truth is I ended up raising my rates. Once it kind of hit me over the head that people really weren't coming for my amazing menu,
Right.
a little bit of a heartbreaking realization, because everyone would rant and rave about how good the breakfast was, but
Mm-hmm.
really they were coming for the experience that I was
Absolutely.
offering. So the space I'd created, they love the privacy of having the cabin in it's in the back of my yard. Um, and they were just wanted to come back. I've got so many return guests that were coming every year for their anniversary, birthdays,
How cool.
girlfriends getaways, because of the experience, because of the vibe I had created.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing that I bring to my business is really I can take a cookie cutter condo and turn it into something more than just a cheap and cheerful place to stay. I always make sure that there's really there's like more that we're offering than just the bed and the nice clean
Mm-hmm.
kitchen. That there's those extras, and so hosting families is definitely a niche that I have here in the
That's
Blue
great.
Mountains. We get people coming for their ski getaways, and they love that we have 3 bedrooms, and most of my units have 2 or 3 bedrooms. We always have pack and plays, high chairs,
Mm,
baby, kid
that's
plates,
cool.
cups, toys, that kind of thing that, parents can show up and their kids, it doesn't matter if the toys are something they might have at home or not. It's just something that we've set out for them. And parents don't have to worry about the kids breaking things or, oh, can they touch this, that? These are family friendly places.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now.
All right. So I have a backup question on that. When you
Sure.
transitioned to start really attracting families, did you find that your occupancy went up or down by niching down like that?
Oh my gosh. So having a niche is a no fail business plan, right? No fail business model. It's extremely helpful. So I have a couple of different um, hospitality experiences that I do provide. So I do
Okay.
have a couple of really unique stays that I host that are couples only. So I own an Airstream, so it's an upscale glamping experience, and I
Nice.
also help my partner with his tiny house that he built. It's also couples only, offer it. And then I currently own the carpet cabin still. And it's more couples, small scale, but just making sure that people really understand that they're coming for a really amazing experience that's unique. They can't get this experience anywhere else. So yeah, going back to your question about the family friendly stays, they're my favorite groups to host. If I'm going to host more than 2 guests, let it be families. I know some hosts are nervous about kids and their little like peanut butter fingers all over the couches, but we have, forgiving prints and fabrics on the couches.
Hey, I'd,
Kids
I'd
really love
rather
that.
have the kids than, the group of 20-year-olds who's all in there to party. So that
Genuinely.
100%. No, I'll
Yeah,
take that
and you
all
give
day.
them a fun little place to play, and that's where the kids are going to be. And I'd much rather have a child than a puppy, right? So
Yes,
these
definitely.
are the things you learn by experience.
Cool. Well, you also mentioned that your business really right now is co-hosting. So I've got a question about that.
Sure.
The power of co-hosting that I really share with people is that, you're not having to furnish it. It's all the financial, responsibility is on the actual person who either owns the place or is in charge of putting it on their listing.
Right.
And for that reason, it's super magical to be able to like go in there and start co-hosting and really like take over the management side to make this passive for them. Is that why you are doing that side of it? Because you see that it's less risk?
Well, if I had all the money in the world, I would own more than 2 or 3 Airbnbs. So that said, I don't. I'm scaling the ones that I own pretty gradually. But Yeah, so I love the scalability of co-hosting. So you're right. I don't need to go out and get a mortgage and put all that money in on the front end to furnish. I'm able to help other homeowners. A lot of the properties that I host are vacation homes.
Mm,
So they sit empty most of the year
right.
anyway. So I'm able to kind of help those property owners turn their vacation home into a business or an income stream. They want to come up, 4 or 5 times a year. And in truth, a lot of families really only get up to ski about twice a year. Their families are growing, kids are in sports, and they're not able to get out of the city as often as they like. Or there's people like you that are real estate investors that want to throw their hat in the ring. But again, they live 2 hours away and they can't do any of the on the ground work. So they hire me to make sure that, the beds are made, place is stocked, that we're adding a hospitality experience. So again,
Hmm.
not just a heartless empty space for people to crash, that
Right.
it's more than that. Um, and yeah, just helping them market it, give a brand to the property,
That's
just
awesome.
level up their listing, right? So that they can not just like compete, but they can actually crush it. They can
Absolutely.
book first. Yeah.
You mentioned Blue Mountains. That's the area you're in, right?
Yes.
Okay. And are all of your listings and as all the ones that you're co-hosting, are they in that area or do you have any outside of the area?
So it's funny you asked this question. I used to host, I was pretty spread out geographically. Some of my properties were about 45 minute to an hour drive from here.
Hmm.
When I started, I initially just said yes to everything. I mean, it
Sure.
had to be a place that I would want to stay, but um, recently I have really gotten clear on what kind of property I want to host, the size, the location, and I have a really targeted niche. I host properties at the base of Blue Mountain. Those are
Cool.
the properties that I want to co-host.
Okay.
So they're not quite ski in, ski out, all of them, but um, families know that they can just come, park the car, and walk
Hmm.
and head out to dinner, or literally carry their skis to the hill.
Yep.
Um, that's my niche. Also, I am so fortunate that the township of the Blue Mountains has introduced a licensing system. So I can help the owner get a short-term accommodation license so that we're legitimately operating a licensed Airbnb. We're not in the
Good.
gray anymore.
Good.
And that for me was a huge deal breaker because, as you know, I've been doing this since 2011
Right.
when it kind of was the Wild West. Anyone could just rent any space, and we were operating the gray. I had the fortune that I had rezoned my property, so we had a B&B designation. But between you and me, I would have done it anyway, right? Like I was
Right.
just so excited. um, and yeah, so now like my business is legitimizing and growing along with the industry. And I like to think that I'm a few steps ahead,
Mm,
right? Helping people get their
yep.
license and helping them understand that they really can't and really shouldn't operate without this license.
Yep.
Here in our area, we have, really strict um, municipal bylaw officers that patrol the
Mm.
Airbnb site. So I'm helping kind of take charge and steer people in that direction so that they can do this properly.
That's good that
And
you
it's
say that's a positive too. I mean, I think a lot of
absolutely,
people get turned off to doing Airbnb because, oh no, we have to get a permit or, oh no, we have to get a license. And I think in a way, it really eliminates the people that are just going to do this casually. And it brings in the people like you that are serious about it and want to do a legitimate business. But what I also loved about what you said is I'm in the same mindset here. Like in the beginning, I was getting calls from people that were saying like, hey, will you help me host in Atlanta? And, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Business. Woo. And then I started thinking about, I'm like, man, I got to get a repairman over there. I got to get a good cleaner over there. I never get to see the place in person. If I don't have some boots on the ground that I trust, then and me being OCD, I was just like, this is a little scary. So what I just had to do was take a step back and say, wow, I mean, there's so much business to be had here in my backyard, just like what you're saying in Blue Mountain, well, in Fresno, like there's so much business to be had that's just like, let's just niche down, focus on what we can control and not try to build all these other teams that we don't have that trust with. So is that like kind of where your mindset is too? Just in regards to building outside of Blue Mountain?
spot on. So for me, it's about efficiency. And I like to, make sure that my properties are intimately managed. So like you say, if you have a property that's in another, for me, it's another province, for me, it's another state, or even another township,
Mhm.
I just can't have those eyes on the ground. And for me, it's about, yes, being intimately managed, having intimate knowledge of the property. I know each property like the back of my hand. Every turnover clean, I like to send the same team of cleaners so they can notice, right, if a vase is out of place or if even like the tiniest little thing is missing or broken. Whereas if you have cleaners that are just, coming in one-offs, they're not going to notice those details, right?
Right.
So I like to have that. Yeah, I like to think I run a tight ship, and I really do care about the details. That's what makes staying in my place different from, one down the street, is that, yeah, our attention to detail. And we're just raising the standards locally of what it means to stay in an Airbnb in the Blue Mountains.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, we are taking a quick break from the podcast to talk about Airbnb. For those of you that don't know, I have built much of my residual income around Airbnb, despite a lot of other investors being really excited about long-term renters. I was not. I saw an opportunity with Airbnb to get to my goals faster, to get more cash flow, and to pay off my houses quicker too. So instead of being really happy like a lot of other investors are with $200 to $300 of cash flow every single month, I've turned my renters and rentals into over $1,000 on average of cash flow every single month. So if you want to learn more about Airbnb, my systems, where I pick my Airbnbs, how I communicate with guests. Maybe you've already got Airbnb as a business on the side right now, but you want to take it to the next level. I am absolutely here to help you. You can book a free consultation with me about Airbnb. Learn more by booking at fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and you get me for 30 minutes for free. That's right, 30 minutes absolutely free. And that's once again, fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and I'm looking forward to helping you conquer Airbnb investing. Well, I think people are hearing you, and I'm able to tell, I hope they're able to tell, that you just take a lot of pride in every single listing that you have, which at the end of the day, it's really not a real estate business. It is a hospitality business inside of a piece of real estate. So it's really cool that you're owning that and that you're taking that on. And, you mentioned it too, that you're a mom, and there's that, that idea of coddling and really, creating an amazing experience that I think not just moms, but a lot of women have, that us guys, I'm like about the numbers, like occupancy, get me like the highest rate. And, on your end, I can tell where your mindset is at different to mine. Do you think that's a mom thing, like a personality thing? Like where do you think that comes into the mix for you?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, my success on Airbnb has been, on one hand, it's been easy. On the other hand, it's been a journey, right? And I am so grateful that I've had this industry to grow into, and now to be an industry leader for other women. Um, I've been able to stay home with my children,
Mm.
and watch them each go to their first day of school. I've been able to be present. And I think as women, and I'm speaking from a female perspective, but we're naturally inclined to multitask. And so being a co-host or an Airbnb host, as you know, like multitasking is everything. Keeping a lot of details up here. Just being ready for a phone call at any time, day or night,
Right.
and be able to remain level-headed when things don't go right, has been huge for me. Yes, the attention to detail is huge, but yeah, women are crushing it on Airbnb. And so, I'd like to think that I'm unique and special, but the truth is I am one of many. So the majority of hosts on Airbnb are actually female. So it's
Wow.
55% of hosts are women. And the majority of people that book an Airbnb are also women. So there's
Hmm.
something I think in that. I do have an advantage of understanding what it is that people are looking for when they look at an Airbnb. And so, for me, yes, of course, it's important that the toilet works and is functional.
Sure.
I'm charging the right nightly rate, but even more important than that, how well styled is the property? How attractive is the property? What kind of extra amenities are there that will keep that guest coming back, or that will make sure I get that 5-star review? My goal is always that my guests will say it's the best Airbnb they've ever stayed at. That for me that's what I'm after. And of course, I want them to go home and tell their friends about it. Stay with the Trendy House Co. You got to book this place. And now I'm on Instagram, and I want to start directing all of my guests to kind of post there as well and share their experiences. So
That's good.
yeah, I think, maybe it's more right brain, left brain, but I think there is a gender strength that women bring to Airbnb hosting. Traditionally, we've been underpaid, underemployed. Globally, women make about 25% less than men in the same type of work. And that's not a stat I'm creating, that's from the UN. And Airbnb is a platform that levels any of those barriers. So it doesn't matter what gender you are, what your work experience is, where you've gone to school, we all have access to this amazing platform that we can list a bedroom, your upper apartment, your whole place, and you can have a booking within about a week, right? And this is really leveling the playing field in terms of economic and social empowerment, and of course, financial empowerment for women globally. So this is something that, I've benefited from greatly as a mom, and now a single mom. And something that I really want to make sure that I bring that message, to all of my social media platforms. And I'm just so glad that you brought this up, because it really is, it's an issue, and it's an opportunity that I'm really passionate about sharing with other people.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I really hear in your voice and your message there, you've thought this through, and it sounds like, especially with not just what you're trying to create for your guests, but also it sounds like for your clients as well, that you have a very high passion and pride of doing this as a woman. Where does that come from?
Well, I think the people that I work with, I happen to hire women as cleaners, and I hate the term cleaning lady. I won't use it. So I call them turnover cleaning specialists. And
I like that.
I think, traditionally in the hospitality industry, who is cleaning and preparing the rooms of a hotel? I think when you picture someone, it's probably a female.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, even behind the desk, who are these people in the industry? And so Airbnb is now allowing all these people that have been behind the scenes, women, delivering this hospitality experience. It's giving us the opportunity to step into the CEO role, the business owner role, to be entrepreneurs. And I know Brian Chesky recently said that's his vision. When his legacy is that he's leaving behind, I think it's like millions of entrepreneurs that he's created this platform for, right? Whereas most of us might be working part-time jobs or 2 jobs, low income work. We now have the ability to earn a living wage, and to create something from the heart, right? It's not just, we're not just garage sailing here anymore. This is a real legitimate industry. And I'm really, really excited to be a pioneer in this industry and to be a part of it.
This story is relevant, and my niece is probably going to kill me for sharing this on our podcast, but she just shared it with me last night. I was over there with her and her daughter, and they just started Airbnb this last month. And the first win that they had was that they made $800 in their first month, and that's just renting out a room and then renting out the entire place on the weekends. Like, it's great. And almost covered her mortgage. But the bigger thing that she said, and this is what was really powerful to me, it's forcing her to get out of the house and do fun things with her daughter on the weekends when she's renting out the entire place. And she said that she's never felt closer to her daughter before. So, I know there's so much negativity out there with the short-term rental space, from neighbors getting upset that, people are throwing parties to, all sorts of different issues I've heard of drugs and deaths and all that kind of stuff. And of course, that's what makes the news is this stuff. But the amount of stories of what you're talking about and what happened with my niece are far outweighing the negative. And I think that's what people need to understand here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a
So
sweet story too. I can really relate to that as
yeah,
well.
no, it was super rewarding. I mean, I've helped a lot of clients make thousands of dollars, with an Airbnb, but to hear that one, $800 and, of course, a family member, that one was the coolest so far that I've come across. But all right, well, let's wrap things up here. You've just added a lot of value for us. I really have appreciated your message, your passion. What though can people do to connect with you? How are you? You're also helping people. How are you doing that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm new to Instagram, so I'm somewhat shy to say check out my Instagram feed, but I am on there and I really do try to post content that's useful and meaningful, and I'm happy to share tips and advice. I just can't help myself. And of course, you can check out my website. It's currently givingtreehospitality.com. Um, Check out my listings. I'm sure I'll post a link to this podcast. I've also appeared on several others. um, and I do offer consultations, so I can work with people remotely, primarily just optimizing their listing, so giving their listing a more polished look and feel. Oftentimes we just, when it's something you create, you just don't see the things you're missing, so I help remove the blinders for hosts, whether it's staging for their photos, tips for things that they should maybe add or remove from their listing, or just polishing the descriptions, making their listing stand out to a potential guest to help them get more bookings. So that's something I can do remotely. And again, you can reach me through Instagram or my website. Yeah.
All right, awesome. We're gonna have all that in the show notes. Amy, any last words for our audience before we log off here?
I just think like this is the land of opportunity. It's a time of opportunity for everyone. And I love that your business name has the word fearless in it, because this is a time to just get over the fears of starting up and to jump in with both feet. And to say that Airbnb is a no risk venture it's not too far off. It really, the platform makes it so easy for everyone to take part and to launch a small business. So there's people like you, people like me, so many resources out on the internet. So, access them and have fun with it.
So
Yeah,
good.
have fun connecting with strangers.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it. Well, hey, Amy, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for the value and your passion that you shared. And thanks for helping our audience to conquer Airbnb investing.
my pleasure. Thank you for so much. It's been great.
All right. So the show notes for this one are fearlessflipping.com/Amy Gilbert, AMYGILBERT. And Amy is helping a lot of people on Airbnb that are currently using the Airbnb platform and just want to up their game. So make sure you check her out. She's very accessible on Instagram. Just go to The Trendy Host and you can find all of her information, as she has just rebranded. And again, she's just a joy to talk to. So I would definitely encourage you to connect with her. That's going to do it here on the Fearless Flipping Podcast. Thank you for tuning in and conquering Airbnb investing.